Hello, and welcome to Season 6 of Finding Your North Star, the HGKC podcast series where we talk to business owners and leaders about what keeps them awake and what drives them. Season 6 is subtitled Strong Foundations, and we are inviting each guest to interpret the topic in relation to their expertise, business, or sector. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking to Carol Massey, Head of Construction at the Access Group. Carol has worked in the construction industry for over 30 years and the last 20 in construction technology. She has first-hand experience working within some of the UK's largest contractors, from house building to civil engineering, and her mission is to continue to promote the construction sector as a great place to expand your career and provide world-class technology to attract skills from other walks of life to the sector. She was recognised as Construction Businesswoman of the Year by Great British Women Awards in 2021. She's an ambassador for women in construction, represents and supports several networking groups, including Diversified Development Global, regularly speaks on LinkedIn and Clubhouse, and was shortlisted last year for an award recognising the work she does to promote diversity and inclusion. So welcome, Carol. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you today.
And it's a pleasure to be speaking to you as well, Peter. So thanks for the opportunity.
I'm looking forward to it. So can I start then? You've been in the construction industry for a long time, 30 years with 20 in construction technology. What drove you as a woman of colour to get into an industry dominated by white males?
Yes, when you ask me how long I've been in, I now say 3 decades and more. So yes, it's been a long time. And yeah, it's an interesting question, a woman of colour in a male-dominated sector. Well, I was always interested in things that were being built. As a young child, I remember watching out the gate when they were laying this thick, horrible stuff that smelt really, really toxic on the roads. And I was like, oh, what's that? Oh, they're actually taking the bumps and the holes out of the road. And as a child, that fascinated me. And I was always keen to be building things with pegs, blocks, whatever we had at home. It really intrigued me about getting things built up. And we can talk further along the lines of what I'm about in terms of building things. But I was really interested in construction. And it was very much about understanding the complexities of things that happen in construction. And I just wanted to, and I didn't see myself as, yes, I'm a woman of color, I'm a black woman, a Caribbean descent, but I never looked at my color. I just looked that I wanted to get involved with something that was interesting in the industry that I saw then and even now touches every part of our lives, from putting your key into the door to getting on the bus to the roads to the rails. Everything around me was construction related. So that was a thing that really, really opened my eyes up to the construction sector. And that was my route into understanding more about, well, how are these buildings built? How does somebody know how much land is needed to build a number of houses, what types of mix goes into concrete, as sad as it is. There is mixes, there's different
Yeah,
types of mix.
yeah.
There's whisper concrete, there's names for these things that go into the road that people probably don't understand, but I was more intrigued about it. And yes, it's dominated by white males. But the interesting thing, it's white males that have always been dedicated and working in that sector for a long time. That's how it's evolved. And I didn't see that as a barrier for me. As I said before, it was something that was really interesting to me. And I just wanted to get to understand a lot more about it.
So it's that passion for building things kind of connects you, doesn't it? If that's theirs as well, you've got some common ground straight away, haven't you? So
Correct,
it kind of leads
exactly.
into my next question really, which was, you've clearly achieved significant success in your career. How did you go about when you first started in there, and how do you go about now getting accepted for what you bring to the table rather than being judged for what you look like?
So it goes back, and look, there's challenges. As we said in the first question, it's male dominated, and sometimes you get challenged on, well, how good is your knowledge? How do you know what you're talking about compared to somebody that doesn't look like you, of a diverse background, that's been in the sector for X amount of years? What have you got different, quote unquote, to bring to the table in terms of the conversation? And it was very much being able to know know about construction. I ask a lot of questions. I remember
Mm.
my first role when I went for an interview at Barrett's, the house builders. So I was a nearly 18-year-old, not recently too long left school. I didn't go to college. I did night school and I was studying accountancy at night school. And I remembered the accountant that was interviewing me saying to me, "Well, I think you'd be really good with construction, but you need to come in at a certain level, as in understanding things." And he said, accountancy, as much as people will say that it's a role that's all about numbers, it's actually the key things to know about any business, and in particular construction. So I was again thinking, wow, I like building things, but here I have somebody that's saying the numbers are important. And
Mm.
all, as we all know, numbers drive business. But that was the opportunity for me to get involved. Barrett's is a national house builder. It's still here today, which
Mm.
is for me looking back, it's like, you know what, my legacy's still there and my journey's continued, and the company that really, really made a difference. So again, Pete, it was about making sure that I just kept on asking questions. Why does it do that? Why do you have to put a purchase order? Why do you have to agree numbers with the subcontractors? Why do you have to hold, whether it's 3%, 5% retention? You're holding on
Yeah.
their money. Why do you do that? And it's asking all the questions so that where I am now, with 3 decades plus more behind me, I know a lot about the sector. I'm trusted in that, you know what, she knows what she's talking about. Well, I hope
Yeah.
I hope I do, but
Yeah. Well.
because I have asked so many questions, and by getting accepted, is accepted on not the way that I look, but for when I'm able to sit round the boardroom table with a commercial director that's looking at the finance director saying, "Well, hold on a minute, my numbers are right." And the finance director saying, "Well, no, I have to be prudent. I'm not going to take everything that you're valuing on the project into the accounts just in case." And I can sit there and I can say, "Well, look, there's ways of using the system to make sure we can capture the information." And it's being able to sit and at that table and have that in-depth conversation, knowing that I understand from being both sides of the tables, understanding each of the roles. So from the estimator that starts to estimate the project before it's awarded, to being awarded, and the commercial team being said, right, okay, this is the value, this is what we've got from a budget to build this project. And then the commercial teams liaising with the subcontractors to say, right, okay, these are the packages of work. So I believe, for me, my journey is about never being scared to ask the question. It could be the most silliest questions, but I don't care. If I don't understand it, I would want to ask again. Well, what does that mean? How does it affect the operational team? How does it affect the commercial team? And I believe that has been really what's helped me to be recognized and increase my knowledge. And every day's a learning day.
Mm.
Things keep changing all the time in
Yeah.
construction, so
Don't
I
they
have to
just?
keep
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
stage up to speed as well.
Yeah. I've always thought that one of the core competencies of any leader is almost like a willingness to ask, a willingness to ask questions, a willingness to, or the acceptance of the fact that actually you don't know everything. I think too often
Exactly.
we put leaders up on pedestals and think, well, okay, this person is head of this at that company, or this person's the prime minister, and therefore they know everything, and they don't. Nobody can. So I think that's really interesting, Carol, that that's been your approach right from the beginning. And I think I can understand that if you're in a room and you've got the answers to the questions that some other people around you are asking, particularly at a technical level, that would give you a real level of credibility, wouldn't it? And I think
100%.
I
And
think
just going back
particularly
to,
having been in construction and then moved over to technology as well, I think that's really interesting. Sorry.
no, absolutely. And I was going to say, just to add to your point about the leaders being able to ask questions, a good leader is surrounded by a team that has diverse knowledge. And
Yes.
it's that's just fact. It helps the businesses to run as well. So being able to look at individuals and allowing them to have a voice is important. And that's been some of the highlights of my career. In the earlier days, I will brutally be honest with you, Peter, being in a room and a table full of white males, and I know that I have the answer, but in some instances hesitating whether I should speak up or just wait. That has been some challenges for me, but as time has evolved, my knowledge, my voice, I'm confident in sharing my views and opinion.
I said in the introduction, you were recently shortlisted for a Diversity and Inclusion Champion Award. And I know you sit on the Access Group Diversity and Belonging Operation Award, don't you? That this is a subject that's very important to you, isn't it?
Oh, on so many levels, Peter. Yes, I was shortlisted last year amongst some great other shortlisters, and there has to be a winner. But like most things, being recognised in the construction community of being somebody that is doing things to help bring more diversity and inclusion into construction sector. The work is not done. There is so much that needs to be done. We're only at 15% of representation in the construction sector by females. We're also, if we look at the skills within construction, we find that a lot of the senior roles aren't done by people that are of mixed origin or black. They're in kind of the I won't say the menial tasks. They're in the lower job levels in terms of where they cannot at the moment progress. So I'm looking at, well, why can't they progress? There's enough skills within the construction that allows everyone to be able to climb that corporate ladder. So for me, getting the opportunity to be more involved is great. I get up each day and that's what I think about. Before it's about the tech, but it's about, well, we've got a sector that is short of skills. How can I, with what I know from the construction, being a woman of colour, help those individuals that want to come into the sector? As we've spoken before many times, Peter, it's one of those sectors where people feel that, well, it's construction. Do I need to have, when I was in careers at school, my careers advisor said, well, if you don't get your exams, you'll always get a job in construction. So it's a good sector to be in. You've got a fallback position. You could always get a job in construction. So for me, it's taking away that taboo of that it's not a great sector. It's a sector that you can grow and evolve. And on the diversity and belonging Access Group, as you know, Access is a huge organisation. It's the largest HQ-based business software house in the UK, and it grows by acquisition. That means you've got different people from different walks of life. You've got different diverse cultures. And when I was nominated to join the operational board, yeah, absolutely, this is what I want to get involved with. And we've got a great team and it's structured. We have the ops board, we've got the key business sponsors, which is our board of directors. And then what we've got is, champions that sit around the rest of the business that help be the eyes and ears and engage with other people, staff members. We celebrate all the religious events during the year, and we look at how we can, as an organisation, do things better. And it's looking at the data as well. So again, it's like most organisation, whether you're big or small, this is an important thing to look at the dynamics of your working environment and making sure that you do have diversity across. And this is not to say, Peter, that you're just going to tick a box and say, right, okay, I've only got 5 women in this role and I've got 6. The next role we have to appoint has to be a female. It's not saying you have to get the right person for the job at all times, but look at how you are then attracting
Yeah.
people from diverse backgrounds into those roles as it is. And yeah, I absolutely, as you can see or hear, this is just something that it's a long-term plan and what I'm working on, and also educating from my social media posts, as you know, to the bigger organization. Because when you're going out to tender for these big projects, they want to know that you're doing it. It's not just a case of, oh, do you have diversity and inclusion within your business, or do you have a D&I policy and tick in a box? No, you've got to actually demonstrate. You've got to demonstrate that as a business, 2022, this is what we had within our business are the different roles. This is the split between male, female. This is LGBTQ, all of the different dynamics. You've got to demonstrate that you're tracking and you're doing whatever's in your power as an organisation to make it be a fair playing field for everyone to come into the business. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
exciting
it's
times.
that it's equity, isn't it, that really is important here. It's creating that level playing field so people can achieve what they can achieve in that environment. But you're right in saying that there's a level of authenticity and credibility that you've got to present to the outside world. That's your employer brand to a certain extent, isn't it? So that people can see that
Exactly.
you are genuine about what it is that you're trying to achieve. And then you get people attracted to come to you because of that, don't you? That builds up momentum in its own right, I suspect.
Absolutely. And the thing is, we know that there are lots of roles out across all the sectors that which need to be filled. And it's now becoming the employee that is asking the questions at the interview to fit their own cultural, their own needs. Yeah. So, from an employer's perspective, you want to attract, but you want to attract for the right reason. Yes, you've got a role that needs to be filled, but you want to ensure that that person coming in can see that the culture that you have in your organization is going to go to a way that they can feel like they belong, because nothing's worse than somebody just taking a job to say, right, okay, it's what I can do, the money's okay, I'll come in and do my 9 to 5, and that's it. You want someone to know that actually I celebrate Ramadan, or I have my Sikh religion that I need to, or I want to celebrate Black History Month. Am I going to be in a minority that I cannot do that? People are asking those questions because what they don't want to feel is that they can't then be open and be able to talk about things that are important to them. And I think what happened during 2020 with COVID and the lockdown, a lot of people have done some inner research, inner thinking of what's important to them, and making sure that if we're going to be spending the majority of our time working, it's got to be in a place where they feel that they can belong and feel included.
Mm, yeah, there's long been a challenge in attracting women to study STEM subjects, and then even when they're in STEM subjects, then when they've qualified to take jobs in STEM sector. You've just mentioned the social media posts, and I see your regular video content and other posts that you put out talking about women in STEM. You are clearly doing your more than your fair share, I suspect, of this. But what more do you think businesses should be doing generally to try and attract more diversity into construction and other STEM sectors?
Oh, it's I you mentioned the LinkedIn post, and I kid you not, Peter, before lockdown, I didn't use LinkedIn that often, just the odd update. But then it was, well, the whole world was going to be sitting in front of their computer. And I thought, well, how can I continue to engage? Yes, I took to doing video posts. And yeah, they're not perfect, but I thought, well, you know what? I want people to see me for who I am.
Mm,
Sometimes I'll have my little Access beanie hat. Sometimes I'll have my lashes on. Sometimes I wouldn't. I would wake up in the morning and I'd want to do a video to share what I'm thinking, and what I think others would see value in. And from a business perspective, it's attracting and retaining. And yes, sometimes if you go onto websites, companies' websites, a lot of them, you'll see that they're now using these graphic image that shows a black lady or a black man, or somebody of color. They're trying to say, well, look, we are about diversity and equity. So click further. So that's kind of the landing page. But I would say that it needs to go further than that. So from a construction perspective, for example, if you've got, as we said before, it's male dominated, and you know that there's lots of position that are male quantity surveyors or contract manager or program managers or commercial directors. Have a day in the life and show the females that are doing these roles, elevate them, show that it is a place that you can aspire to a good role. So promoting more, and I do see that happening in that some of the big tier 1 contractors will be showing a day in the life of, and I'll use the name Molly in construction. She's out on the tools. And the same goes for the development in technology. Attracting more women into technology is also key. And that, again, we've got to be showing that it's not only male that can deliver good quality software, females are there. And again, if you look at the sales role, we all, Peter, you and I, from the generation when it used to be the yuppies, the guys suited and booted in London, with their briefcases, and it was like, yeah, commission driven. But there's some great females that can do selling. So let's promote both ways. For far too long, women have been quite sheepishly in the background, remaining silent and reluctant to promote themselves. If a job application was out there and it said you had to have 5 of those key requirements to get the job, and the female will say, well, she's only got 3 out of the 5, she won't apply. The male will have 3 or even 2 out of the 5, but he will reply because he'll just say, "Sod it,"
Absolutely.
he'll do
Going
it,
for it
so
anyway. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
go for it anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just changing that whole view on how we do that. And again, it goes about for businesses to, when they're advertising their roles, it's to use the right languages. You were looking for a person rather than, lean the language that you can say, oh, that's actually going to be more suited to a male. And you've got to also then look at how you promote your business, your organization as well, that shows it that it's inclusive and it's the best person for the role. But if you're a female, you can still feel part of it.
Yeah.
So from businesses, they need to be doing more, they need to be talking more, and they need to be showing more that they are actually doing what's needed to promote themselves. And I keep going back to, it can't appear to be a tick box that yeah, we've satisfied that element, let's move on to the next bit. It's got to be consistent.
Yeah, there is a real challenge, the unconscious bias challenge, which you just alluded to in what you were saying there, where you look at a job description and think, man, this job belongs to a man. And
Mm.
automatically, when you then go into the interview process, that unconscious bias is still sitting in the back of your mind. And whether you're consciously making the decision or not, it can lead to reinforcing the status quo in many respects, can't it? And that's really difficult to get past. But there is general recognition, I think, now, certainly amongst the people that we talk to, that diversity in the boardroom makes for a much, much more successful business. Decision making is better, productivity is better, culture in the business is better. So the prize is massive here if people get this right, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it goes back, we mentioned about the interview. So even that interview process could be very intimidating. You're going for a construction role and you turn up as a female, and in front of you is a team of white men or a team
Yeah.
of just white faces or
Yeah.
male, and you know that I can do this job, I really can do this job. But the minute you open the door, you just think, oh, it's just like you feel that I've got a higher hill to climb. It's steeper for me because I'm going to be challenged, and there's no one that's interviewing me that can relate to how I'm communicating. I might not speak eloquently. I might not be from the Eatons I may not have gone to Cambridge, but I know that with a passion, I can do the job that I'm applying for. So again, within businesses, is looking at that whole recruitment process, and when you go for the interview, making sure that you've got diversity interviewing the candidate as well, because it is hard. Interviews are hard, even though I said previously that the employee is now taking up more of the interview role, as in they're asking all the questions. So I think what businesses need to ensure that they are ready for those questions. People are going to say, well, what do you do to celebrate different cultures during the year? What do you do to allow me as a female? I've got children. I want to be able to go to nativity, or I want to go to the school sports day. So there's things like that that businesses need to be mindful as part of the whole onboarding process, or trying to attract and retain candidates from all diverse backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah. I was at the BASDA summit last October. BASDA, you're a member of BASDA as well, the
Yeah.
Business Application Software Development Association, if I just get that in so people understand what that is. But
Yeah.
the theme of the afternoon was all around inclusion, or DEI generally. And there were a couple of organizations in there that had started to adopt anonymous applications. So you send an application in for a role, but your name doesn't appear on it. No personal details appear on it at all, so that whoever's screening CVs is screening it just from the perspective of what you potentially bring to
Yeah.
the organization. And there was a really interesting story that one of the panelists was talking about. He's blind. He applied for a job as a software developer. He got to interview, and when he sat down, the interviewer said, "Well, what are you doing here? You can't write code." Well, of course he can.
Shocking.
Yeah, he didn't get the job, but he did get compensation afterwards for the bias.
The
And
comment.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a shocking story, really.
Yes.
But it's that perception that, if it's not you walking in the door, that person can't do the job. We have to work really hard, I think, to try and change that. All of us, I think, involved in this.
100%.
Yeah. Talking about attracting particularly women into STEM and into construction, I suspect much the problem originates in the perception that jobs in these sectors are, as you put it, out in the cold on muddy sites. As a woman working in the construction sector, what message would you like to send out to women, or men for that matter, who might be listening to this podcast?
It's a great sector. Okay. If you then
Indeed.
look at what happened during 2020, construction didn't grind to a halt. Yes, there was some immediate changes, and the grace of technology enabled construction to be able to continue to build and be able to allow individuals within their business to work from home. Construction is all around. So I would always say, look around you. Yeah, you're always going to need roads. Even if we go to electric cars, yeah, we're still going to need roads to drive on it. We're still going to need the trains. There is a shortage stock of houses. We know the population is increasing and we're actually living longer. So construction is one of the sectors that is here, and it's here to stay. And as much as people will say, yeah, but the construction historically has been behind in technology. It's all paper based. Things are getting better, a whole lot better, because I live and breathe and I deal with a lot of construction companies to ensure that they are transforming with technology. The stigma of out in the cold and muddy boots. Listen, what is more rewarding to go out on the muddy boots and seeing the foundations on a house being done 1 month, to then seeing that glorious building and house
Yeah.
that's going to house the family in a few months' time? It's so empowering that it's a sector that you can see things start from nothing to then be something. It's exciting. You see the whole journey. And as an individual, whether you're a male or female, it is a sector that is here to stay. And it's not just out on the tools. There's roles that are, if you want to be in HR in construction, if you want to do payroll, if you want to do finance, if you want to do the procurement estimate, there is so many roles which people seem to not appreciate, that to run a big construction organization or even as a small one, there's key roles to the sector. And yes, we talk about there's an aging workforce. And I always say this, Peter, with age comes knowledge, and with
Yeah.
knowledge it then be able to impart into the future generation, because they know how things used to be and how things need to be. Yes, we've got individuals that are growing up on our generation that know about technology, and they've got iPhones and other devices to use day in, day out, but understanding the practicalities of how things are done on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet helps you to know what needs to be applied into a system to deliver the right results. So
Yeah.
yes, construction is a great sector. It's great for men and women, and we need much more. So yes, it's testing time for the sector as well, as we build for construction in the UK.
It is indeed. Well, that seems to be a good place to end this conversation, Karen. It just remains for me to thank you for joining us. It has been a real pleasure to talk to you. It always is. I would urge listeners to visit Carol's LinkedIn profile, where you'll be able to follow her regular audio and video posts, which have been coming out certainly since lockdown. And I can say that they are truly inspirational. I've listened to lots of them. And if you're in construction, why not visit theaccessgroup.com/construction to find out more about the technology solutions that Carol and her team offer. And if you'd like to find out more about us, about HGKC, you can find us at www.hgkc.co.uk, where you'll be able to read about how we help our clients with leadership, innovation and exit planning. You'll be able to listen to more of our Finding Your North Star podcasts, which you'll also find on Buzzsprout and Spotify, and explore and download some of our favourite cool tools. So thank you for listening, and goodbye. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.